where we aim to bring ideas on how to create commercial conversation with your target audience more effectively. So last week, I made a prediction that LinkedIn would hit 1 billion members by the end of the year. It turns out they've managed to do that, or they're about to do that this month, according to an article that I saw yesterday from TechCrunch. We're planning to launch a new suite of open AI powered reading and writing tools. Anyway, enough about that. Today, our topic is about content marketing versus content making. And before we get into this juicy topic, my name is Alex Abbott, founder of Sapiro, creator of the Conversation Operating System. And so, Jensen, beauty before age this time.
Thank you very much. Hi all, Jensen Abbott here. I do excuse if I'm coughing a little bit, just nursing an illness. But pleasure to be here and to kick off a great discussion today.
Lovely. I think you were nursing that last week. It was just creeping in. Has it officially become man flu?
I think so. Yeah, I think it has. But hey, do you know what I mean? It's stop complaining and just get on with it. So.
Yeah, that's the spirit. Jordan.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Jordan. Previously of Sapiro, now at Vidyard. I am feeling a lot better this week. So fortunately, I've managed to kick whatever it was.
Good. So I think there might be a problem with my connection. Let's hope it sorts itself out. But anyway, before we get going, let me set the scene for everyone. So the year is 2010. B2B marketing teams are loving life. Lead nurture programs are really coming into life, and content is well received by buyers. So let's create more content, even though we know 80% of it is only used once, and it's the #1 cost for B2B marketers behind search. Anyway, let's fast forward to 2020, before global lockdown, and content is rife. We're drowning in insight, and there are now 12,000 MarTech platforms churning out more content. Buyers have experienced purchase decisions going wrong. They no longer believe the insight that comes out of vendor content engines. We're seeing MQL conversions drop as low as 0.1%, according to some analysis from Chris Walker that we covered on the show a few weeks ago. Close rates have fallen to an all-time low of 17% between SMB and enterprise, and trust between buyer and seller has evaporated. Talk of a recession still. What's a modern sales and marketer supposed to do in 2024? I know it all sounds a bit grim, but I think it's the reality. I'd love to get your thoughts on the topic.
Yeah, I was going to say, should we just stop there? We're all screwed. No, it's a really good question. Quite a charged question, I may add. But one of the things that really stood out to me was the Trust Radius report, the age of self-serve, and how buyers are going anywhere but to a vendor for insight, for information. We know that buyers are completing as much of their buying journey as possible, between 57 and 90%. Miller Hyman found that I think it was 50% identify the solution they want to work with before even reaching out. So, this idea of creating content to try and catch people that are in market is you're too late. You've missed your opportunity. So what does that leave us with? It's rather than creating content that's purely insight based, it's creating content that basically acts as a bit of a foundation for you to build a relationship, in my opinion.
Yeah, before we go there, I think this idea of creating content, or a marketing team creating content to inspire, build awareness, inspire, nurture, from what we see for example, 0.1%, this idea of a content engine nurturing people through until they're ready to buy doesn't seem to be working like it once did, especially when you start to look at close rates dropping to 17% on average. And so why are marketers still doing it?
Good question. For a marketer.
Yeah, very.
Um,
On that point though, I think as well, I think a lot of marketers are stuck in a hamster wheel where it's let's produce more. So it's then more of the idea of let's get more quantity out instead of maybe quality. So then the massive content as well could be why the engagement rates are dropping, because if you're trying to produce more content at scale, the quality is not going to be as good as if you're going to spend more time on creating that content that's actually maybe specified on a specific topic or need that someone needs solving, or maybe it's a little bit too salesy, right? And it's not actually trying to build that relationship.
Yeah, so let's talk about quality for a moment, because there are marketing teams that spend a lot of money on creating what they deem to be quality that is filled with research and insight, yet it's still not landing. So when you talk about quality, what do you mean, Jensen?
So actually taking into consideration maybe how the person would reciprocate that content, right? So and again, I hate to throw the word AI around again, but I think especially with AI coming in, people want to invest in this future technology, right? And I think a lot of people can look at it wrong sometimes and thinking AI can be there to actually create the content for me. Happy days, it's saving my job. And not really. AI isn't there to actually mass produce content. It's there to help aid. It's there to help identify where can maybe the content be a little bit improved so that it keeps that person a little bit more engaged on your website or wherever it is that you're doing, LinkedIn. It's to spend more time finding out information about you, yourself as an individual. It's how it's more as a prospect. Am I actually willing to give this person my time because they've created a bit of content that actually I can resonate with? And exactly like Oliver has said, should we not focus on authentic, humanized content instead? And I 100% agree, Oliver. Yes, we should. And it kind of links to the show that we done last week, right? About videos as well, and all the different alternatives that there are out there that you can use. And I would say my biggest tip is get creative, trial and error.
So you're talking about the individual getting creative as opposed to the marketing team, or both?
But I think both, and I think I mean, I don't know about you, but I've thought about this before. Is have marketers actually circulated a bit of content within the organization to see if other people find it engaging, right? And it's more also separating kind of the fact that actually you're going to be biased because you work for the organization, because you see a lot of the time, right, when people or when organizations post on LinkedIn, it has very little likes that mostly are employers.
So you're not are you talking about an employee engagement program, or are you talking about sharing the individual sharing content around the organization?
You could do it both again. So you could do it in an organization. If a marketing team has spent a lot of time and a lot of money on creating that content, why not send it around the organization? Brainstorm. How could this be improved? Does anyone else have any ideas, right? Because at the end of the day, you've got to remember, the person who's created the content's always going to think that it's brilliant and it's great because they've spent a lot of time, put a lot of energy into that content. But actually, the reactions of that content tell you if it's good or not, right? And we see that from LinkedIn. So I've done it before. I've created a piece of content. I thought, this is awesome. This is gonna absolutely fly out the door. People are gonna love it, and it has the opposite effect. So even
yeah, let me bring this question up and bring Jordan into the conversation, because I think this is a really great point, great question. And LinkedIn user, you're showing as LinkedIn user because of your privacy settings. Please tell us who you are so you can get credit for this great question. It's not a stupid question at all.
It's all of the above. There's different pieces of content to fill or achieve a different objective. When we think about, and I think we do have to be careful here, because content marketing can be valuable for brand awareness, building that brand initially. And it's this idea of, okay, yes, a certain amount of content marketing is relevant to position the brand as the go-to, but there's so much more power within the individual telling those stories throughout their own content that they're making. And what we're seeing, I think, is content marketing transforming slightly. SaaS businesses particularly are becoming media businesses. You know, you look at the likes of Lavender with, you know, Will Aitken leading the charge, creating that community around his content. That's what I think the gold standard of content marketing is going to become. How can you leverage this content to build a community around? And then on that piece, I'm conscious of time. Another thing is, by building that community, you're then likely going to get some user-generated content, which is, I think, the next best thing for businesses, because we know that buyers don't want to hear from vendors. They don't want to hear that vendor insight. They're going to peer review sites. They're going to communities to ask for that social proof. So why not leverage your users, get them to generate some content and feed that out?
Yeah.
And I have one question, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
I know you mentioned, Alex, the organization spend a lot of money on content. It's second behind SEO. Do we know roughly how much of the budget is
not SEO, search, like search marketing? Yeah.
Awesome. Do we know how much of the budget is normally spent on content marketing, like a percentage?
Good question. Of the overall marketing budget, I don't know, but I'm sure there's some research. I'd be guessing if I said.
Yeah.
I feel like I've got that in my notes somewhere. What I'll do, I'll have a look and see, and post it as a comment on the feed.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So we are keeping this short and succinct, and hopefully sweet for our audience. Neil Johnson, thank you for that, by the way. Great question. We could spend a lot more than 15 minutes, I think, talking about that one question alone. But the promise is to leave the audience with 3 tips with regards to content, content making. And Jordan, you've shared a few things, but what would be your number 1 tip for people creating content? And I think having the back of your mind, we're all in sales. It's about conversations, ultimately, I think.
It's simply be yourself, right? No one's going to have your perspective, and you will get an audience. It may be a niche audience, but those are the people that are going to be predisposed to listen to you and have a conversation. So be yourself, be authentic.
Brilliant. And Jensen, apart from your tip being turn off notifications when you're doing a live podcast, what's your tip?
My tip would be content is king and consistency is queen. So keep keep going at it, keep doing it, and enjoy the journey.
Yeah, brilliant. And my tip is a combination of both of what you've both said. So being yourself is key. I'm going to touch on consistency and creating governance. So that's what I'm going to add to it. Having your own governance as part of your content making plan, so that you can hold yourself accountable for doing things over a period of time that will get the conversations you need to develop the pipeline you need. Cool. So with that, thank you, Johnson. Thank you to our audience, Jude, Jackie, Neil. Thank you for your comments, and we look forward to seeing you next time on Walking Digital Corridors.